Let's get a bit of perspective on today's MPC meeting as well as economic recovery. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the CEO of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mr. Rewane. Great to have you in the chair on a day like this, I always say. So, key lending rates unchanged in the face of a recession. Will this end the problem, in your opinion?
First of all, in Latin we say nihil sum mutare. In French we say pas de changement. And in English, we say no change. So 14 times out of the last 17 meetings, status quo, ante, no change. So it's become deja vu. And so what's the decision? Leave everything unchanged. But the good news is that in the global economy, we have a vaccine. 2, the price of oil got as high as $46 a barrel today. So that's the recovery. Seems to be on an optimistic note. But the bad news is that we have inflation today at 14.23, heading towards 15 or 16%. But food inflation, 17.25. Inflation is everything as far as central banking and monetary policy is about. The framework is called inflation targeting. So that's important. Second is that this inflation has many factors that are stoking it. One of those being the exchange rate weakness. And we'll talk about the exchange rate in a minute. Thirdly, GDP growth recovering, minus 3.6%. It was minus 6. Nigeria is doing well compared to others, and the recovery is probably on track. I'm not as optimistic as others that will say the recovery will happen in the next quarter, but it definitely will happen in 2021. The worst news is that unemployment is at 27% and is likely to get to 35%. So that's key. Now, some other things about money supply growth and all that, we'll leave that. But the key thing is inflation. And if you look at inflation, the slides there tell you very clearly that the smallest stoking factor is the VAT increase. The highest stoking factor happens to be the exchange rate pass-through. For every 1% devaluation of the currency, there's a 0.2% increase in prices. And so, but when you have high inflation and low interest rates, then the store of value of the currency begins to erode. So there's no question about it. Inflation at 14, 15%, interest rates at 1%, you lose money by going to bed, right? And that's 14%. And that's very, very important. And that also leads to currency pressures. Nominally, the value of the currency is 386. Effectively, the value of the currency is what you get in the market. Prices are not determined on television. Prices are not determined on pages of newspapers. Prices are determined in the marketplace. If you cannot get it in the market, the effective price is in the market. In economics, we say there's the invisible hand which determines the price. In intervention, we say there's a hidden hand. So you can have the hidden hand trying to intervene. It will not succeed. It's the invisible hand that always succeeds at the end. So what is the price of the currency? On the way here, you could buy it at 386 if you're lucky. But the price at which you get it in the marketplace is what it is. If it is 480 in the market, that's what it is. That's what we call effective price. There's nothing emotional about pricing. It is a rational decision. I'd love it to be 1-to-1. I'd love it to be whatever it is. But the reality is that if I want to buy onions today, onions is 80,000 naira a bag. And that's the effective price. If I want to buy the dollar today, I'll buy it at a particular price. And I'm not going to say that on television, but the price is what it is. It is not what we wish it is. All right? Now, unemployment, we've talked about that. And that comes, one of the consequences of a recession is that it comes with corporate failure, it comes with high unemployment. But luckily, we are having a recovery path. So sometime next year, maybe in the second quarter or so, we'll see that. But it all depends on the price of oil and if OPEC gives us some slack.
So we're going to see recovery there?
We're going to see recovery in 2021. Not early 2021, but probably in the middle. Okay. Some are more optimistic, but these are all projections. Now, but Nigeria is not alone. If you look at those slides, Nigeria minus 3.62, South Africa is minus 51. Ghana is minus 0.8, Kenya is minus 9. So everybody is in this, but Nigeria is technically in recession, 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Now, what's the impact of all of this on you? Clearly, one, if you're a corporate body, you are looking for Forex. Forex rationing does not help you. So you are buying part of it officially, buying part of it and blending it to come up with a rate. In the non-deliverable forward market, you are seeing it at 4.47 for 1 year forwards, and that's a technical issue. Secondly, credit availability. Credit is available. The central bank governor alluded to the fact that 19.3 trillion naira. It's about flat there. And then the price of credit has actually declined. But it's 20%. Don't forget, interest rates are 1% and lending rates are 20%. That's now, what does this mean? If the 10 commodities we track, of these 10, 3 are flat and 7 have increased. The biggest culprit here is price of onions. And if you look at, as an individual, you are paying more for petrol, you are paying more for flour. The price of flour has gone from 8,500 last year and it's going to go up to 15,000 in December 1. So the price of bread is going to be up by 90% between last year and this year. But what is important is transport fares in the city. Within the city, it's 68%. That's within Lagos and within Ibadan or within Kano. But across cities, it's 36%. But what is interesting is that on Okadas and the tricycles, it's gone up by 115%. Okay. And that's where the poor man gets hurt. And those are the things that stoke tension. Now, having said that, what do you expect to happen? One, Q4 growth is going to decline because it's base year effects between, at this time last year, COVID had started, but it was not here, it was in China. But the slowdown has started in economic activities. So to that extent, when you compare Q4 last year with Q4 this year, the base year effects means that we would not be as bad. Oil price, $45 a barrel, that's good for us. There could be a second surge, but I think Nigerians we have been lucky. And finally, there'll be a mild Christmas. So in the end, interest rates will probably increase next year. The central bank will have a way and will have to alter that. The central bank will have to sell more dollars into the market if you are going to increase output. And finally, inflation will cross the 15%, but will then moderate later in the year. So 2021 is going to be a better year than 2020. But again, everything depends on what happens with the vaccine, the price of oil, and how determined we are to call a spade a spade.
Thank you so much for that projection. Always a pleasure, Mr. Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. Thanks for sharing that on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.